Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Three of the most common health regrets we typically see from otherwise healthy people. We're going to walk you through three of these things we keep hearing from people that they wish they'd started doing sooner or paid more attention to sooner. First of all, avoiding strength training. This is incredibly important. We know exercise is important, but we don't talk enough about how important strength training is. Dr. Peter, you feel very strongly about this, correct?
Of course, I'm a true believer that strength and lean muscle mass and core strength is a good predictor of longevity. And often people don't realize that avoiding strength training takes its toll over the years. We all lose muscle mass, and a lot of people try to work on cardio, but not necessarily strength training. And so light weights, working on core exercises, and that can come in many different ways. But we do know that cardio exercise doesn't necessarily protect from frailty, but keeping lean muscle mass and working on strength training actually can help you not only live longer, helps you from falling. And if you do fall, it actually can help you from getting injured.
That's so true. And gait, right? So we talk a lot about gait. If you've ever been to physical therapy, that's a term they use all the time. Gait training. It's so important because when people are not walking appropriately or don't have enough strength or haven't been kind of training their bodies to be stable, you're so much more likely to have a fall. And falls and hip fractures and things like that, they can take you downhill so fast. And there's so many illnesses that develop when you're in that injured state that can really, really put you in a bad spot. So absolutely, strength training, I think, is one of the most underestimated things that we just don't talk about enough.
Yeah, and it's so true. And what we also forget about is just having lean muscle mass. If you think about muscle as a metabolic organ, which we don't often talk about, and what I mean by that is it is the muscles that also help drive metabolism. They help stop insulin resistance and elevated blood sugars. They burn calories. So it just shows you how important keeping muscle mass is.
Couldn't agree with you more. And on that same topic, protein intake, correct? So not just strength training, but what also creates muscle and works with it is adequate protein intake. And that's another thing that can kind of fall off as time goes on, correct?
Absolutely. The technical term is sarcopenia, I think they call it. Not often used, but it actually is just you lose muscle mass. And so when you're in the hospital or you're not active, you lose muscle mass. And because of that, people have increased risk of falls. And there's just so many consequences of this.
So what we're really talking about is building and maintaining muscle. Now, we're not talking about bodybuilders, but we're talking about a basic level of building and maintaining your muscle and how important that is.
So true.
So the next thing that I think is very underestimated that we need to think a lot more about and that people tell us about all the time is how much they underestimated the stress they were under. Now, if you get this from your job, your family, something that's going on in your life that's causing an enormous amount of stress, I talk about the mind-body connection a lot. And if you're under huge amounts of stress all the time, there's no question that is causing damage to your body.
Absolutely. And I tell patients this all the time. You can't really separate mental and physical stress. I really, truly probably underestimated this until I became a physician and I saw the physical consequences of stress. We know that stress shows up physically long before people can actually connect the dots and see that actually it's a stress that's causing the illness. We know that stress rips through and tears through the body. It causes increased cortisol levels. We know that increased cortisol causes inflammation in the body. And it's something that is not often, I say, upon stressed enough, is to manage. And we know that we can't really avoid stress, but it's really just managing stress as well in a proper and appropriate way.
I think a lot of the time, it's one of those things that you can't necessarily see and you can normalize it because we live in a society where stress is considered an important part of the day, right? So if you're at a job and you're stressed out, that's okay. You're working hard, but we really don't take the time to think about, is that causing significant damage? And do I have coping mechanisms for my stress? Do I have ways to compartmentalize these thoughts and emotions I'm having? What do you do to decrease your stress?
For me, always exercise has been such a key component of reducing stress or just managing it because, again, it's hard to reduce stress. And people are told this as patients. You probably told us all the time, but how do you do it? Regular low-impact exercise. I think zone 2 cardio has always been something that's been really great for me. And what do I mean by that? is be able to work out and elevate your heart rate, but you can still have a conversation with someone. So a little bit of power walking can really just burn stress off. Because if you think about it, stress or these spikes in cortisol doesn't care if it's emotional or physical. It's going to hit you from either one. And so that's why it's just so important. I can't really stress enough.
So here's one hack that Dr. Peter actually did. He bought is it a small treadmill for the office? He walks on this in between patients, correct? You're in front of the
Well,
computer.
yeah, I mean, I think what I did is I realized that I have a standing desk in my office.
Yeah.
And as I'm standing why not make the most of it? So when I'm not seeing patients in my office, I have what they call a walking pad. So it's like a treadmill. It can't go over a certain amount of miles per hour, but it can go on a little incline. So I'm walking all day. I can feel the stress continuously burning off as you're doing it. It's incredible. I highly recommend people, you have to be safe in doing it and make sure you don't fall off the walking pad.
There's that. Yeah.
And, everyone in my office thought it was kind of funny. And you know what? A couple of weeks later, everyone wants one. And now lots of people in my office are doing it. So it's something I enjoy. It's something that I think manages stress well. I've always been a big proponent of it. And it's enjoyable and it's consistent. And I think that has been the game changer for me, is the consistency part of that, as opposed to working out, burning off stress, and then you need to recover from that workout for a couple of days, that you just don't get into that consistent habit of it.
No, I couldn't agree more. I think it's a great diet. I'm actually probably going to get one. The diet, we don't talk about how the diet affects people's stress a whole lot, but what you eat can cause your stress hormones and your emotions to run wild. I mean, people that are eating heavily processed, those fast food places, they've done so. You can see that there's emotional changes in a negative way from eating very poor diets. I know in myself, if I eat a very poor lunch, which I try not to too often, I can feel that. I can feel the stress increase. I can feel that I am not performing as well as I should.
Well, what it's doing, it's actually you're fueling the fire of inflammation in your body, and that's what it can worsen joint pain. I think a lot of people out there, like when you actually have eaten very well, people will say, well, my hip pain is gone and my knee pain is gone. Right. And so the other dietary component that we haven't touched upon is alcohol. And alcohol is a direct toxin to your body. It's broken down into different chemicals. One is a lot of calories and the other is a toxin. But for stress specifically, it actually will increase stress. And people don't realize it's a quick fix, but we know that it does increase cortisol levels. You think that it makes you fall asleep faster, but you will have disrupted sleep. And we know that that is such an important part.
Well, that is a good segue to our last and also equally as important issue, and that is underestimating sleep. And so people we've seen that were otherwise healthy, were doing well, they said, I wish I'd thought about the importance of sleep and its effects on longevity, life, happiness, stress much earlier instead of focusing on it later in life. So really making it a priority, I think, is important. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. We know that stress is a time when your body shuts down and repairs itself, just like you shut off a computer. It just repairs inflammation. And if you're not shutting your body down to sleep, the inflammation just keeps burning. It's smoldering inside your body. And we know that people that get less than 6 hours of sleep at night are at increased risk of heart disease. That's a direct link to lack of sleep.
You can absolutely feel at times how ill you are and how many things are going wrong in your body when you miss a few nights of sleep in a row. I mean, nobody's going to be perfect. There are always going to be reasons why you're having trouble sleeping, but there's a lot you can do that's non-medication based. A lot of that can be diet and exercise, right? So if you're exercising consistently, tiring your body out, we know that helps with sleep. We know that having a large, poorly chosen diet before sleeping can absolutely affect your sleep. We know that these heavily processed foods can destroy your sleep. We know that doing a lot of work on devices and things like that, being very stressed out and doing work stuff, whatever your job might be late at night, can get the wheels spinning, your mind turning. You'll make it hard to sleep. So that's the kind of stuff you can do. And there are many other things you can do.
Absolutely. I take magnesium glycinate. Magnesium glycinate is a very well absorbed form of magnesium. And you take it at night, it actually can promote a relaxation response.
Absolutely.
That as well as melatonin. I like to take melatonin, L-theanine. L-theanine kind of calms down your mind. So a lot of people, when you sleep, and I think everyone has this at some point, is that you can shut off your brain at night. And if you wake up, the thing I like about melatonin, at least for me, is that if you wake up in the middle of the night, that it does help you fall back asleep a little bit easier. And so that's one of the things I think works great. I think other things for good sleep hygiene is having a cooler room, like a temperature around 65 degrees is probably healthier than having it really warm. It's just better for the stress hormones of your body, not using obviously devices. Right. That's really tough, right? I think that
Right.
lots of people, the first thing that you do when you wake up or can't go to sleep is you start scrolling on
Exactly.
the phone or an iPad or something like that.
I couldn't agree with you more. So these are three of the top regrets from otherwise healthy people that they wished they'd done more of. But these do not have to be regrets for you. You can start doing these things right now. You can make these priorities. And I promise you, they will make you feel better and they will help you on your journey. Please comment below on things you've tried that have helped you on your journey as well. We love to hear that from you guys. We love it when you interact with us. Please check out our health and wellness store at ohiwellness.com if you're in the USA or ohiwellness.co if you're in the UK. We produce products that we think will help you on your journey, and come and see us real soon.